This is a non-spoiler review for everybody. Non-spoiler, because I don't want anybody to get nervous that we're going to spoil this movie. This is a non-spoiler review. We saw it last night. The one thing that I will say up top for anybody that is just a Spider-Man fan, you have to see Infinity War and Endgame. You have to.
You really do.
You'll be lost. It is really, and they say it in the trailer, is the crux of the entire storyline. Peter is dealing with things that happened from the last film, and he's now dealing with that. He's got to. That's why I understand when he was on that show. He has to express kind of, if you tell him what the plot is, he's got to figure it out. Jon Favreau is also in this movie, is phenomenal in it.
Fantastic.
A lot of the returning cast from Homecoming in it, and what happens is that Peter wants to take a break from being Spider-Man. Not in the way that just kind of, not Superman 2 where he's going to give it up.
Right.
He wants a break. He wants to be a kid.
vacation.
He wants to be a kid. He wants to go and enjoy being with his classmates. So they go on this trip to Europe. But he's like a police officer. You can't leave without your badge and your gun. And there are people that know that he should be going with his, with the idea that Spider-Man could be needed at any time. But he doesn't feel that way. So while he's out there, again, this is all trailer stuff, shit goes down, and Jake Gyllenhaal arrives, and I love the idea. It was Mysterio coming from, and they say it again in the trailer, the alternate universe, and here are these big kind of creatures that kind of are coming from now, and they're making a ruckus. So now Spider-Man's got to get involved, even though he doesn't want to get involved. I really, really loved this film. I thought that it had so much. It had a lot of fun to it. I do think Gyllenhaal, who I thought was spectacular, pun intended, for this movie. I think he had a lot more to do in the first half of this movie.
Yes,
and the second half he was really good, and I just felt that he had a lot more to do in the first half.
Did he do my? By the way, I have not seen it because you guys are all jerks and you didn't invite me. But I also had to work. Did he do my boy Quentin Beck justice?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yes. Yeah?
I think so.
Yes.
I think
because
so.
I never thought we would see Mysterio in a movie. So
Yeah, I thought Mysterio was
exciting.
a very good layered character, and I think that Riley said it to me afterwards. Riley said that these two villains from both Homecoming and This Far From Home have really delivered.
Yeah, the way they handled Mysterio, I think, is one of. It's like I don't want to say more than I need to. It was phenomenal. I think they nailed the character of Mysterio in so many ways that you get some flavor from the comics, but expands and how it really connects to the MCU.
It's also the brilliant use of the alternate universes. That's what's so smart about it.
Yeah, and the multiverse. It's really cool to see how they were able to weave his story into Spider-Man's story.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a personal way and in a superhero way, and I really like that as well. And the fact that someone went with Vogel and Shannon last night.
Right.
Vogel leaned over. He goes, "I never thought I'd live long enough to see a good Mysterio done effectively in a Spider-Man movie." And I said, as an audience, we needed to advance technologically to make what works happen in the film, to make it work for us and us to connect to it and be like blown away by it. Because when he gets his moment to shine, holy Mary, Mother of God, he's
really
that
does.
like a heart-stopping like series of events.
He really
awesome.
does, and Tom Holland brings it again to Spider-Man. I still think
so
good.
No, I'm not including the animated in this one.
No.
Right.
But as far as live action goes, I truly believe he's the best Spider-Man.
Oh yeah,
that we've
I
ever
completely
had.
agree. I mean, obviously Spider-Verse is its own
It's a different
thing.
movie.
It's like
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
movie. But Homecoming is, as soon as I saw it, easily my favorite Spider-Man movie before Spider-Verse.
same.
Now, the humor is
and my favorite Spider-Man. I
Yes,
think Tom Holland's fantastic.
He's really good. The humor is there in this movie again, the same way that it was in the first one. I actually think, and I still like the best friend. I think the best friend was
Ned.
better utilized. Yeah, I think he was better utilized in the first movie than he was in this. He's got a good bit. He's got a good bit. in
Ned
this.
got older. Let me just let you know that's not a non-spoiler. That's a non-spoiler.
He's older.
Ned got older. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
Those 5 years, he aged during those 5 years instead of staying the same age, which I thought was interesting.
But
And he was funny.
he was fun.
His storyline is funny as hell.
I loved what they did with him.
Yeah.
I got tired after a bit.
Oh,
for
you
me.
did? You
For
thought
me.
it was a little too much?
It was starting
That's
to get
fair.
a little bit but it didn't ruin the movie.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me. I was on board because I liked the way they connected to all of it. I felt like I was rewarded for being a fan of the overall just series. I felt like a television series, and Feige had said it was the last one that closes out the Infinity series, and it is. But this is what I will tell you, is that if you were like, I can watch the post-credit scenes, I can watch them online, that's what I do for these things. You have to stay for both. It is as imperative as watching because if you leave before the first one, it's a completely different movie.
Yep.
Oh yeah. These are some of the best post-credit scenes in all of Marvel.
Cool.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
I agree.
it was phenomenal. The first one, the audience lost their ever-loving mind.
Because it almost is like, and again, I'm not ruining it for anybody. It's like the end, the post-credit scene is almost like not even really a post-credit scene as much as if it's the ending of the film.
Yeah.
They just put the credits before and said, "Oh, this is our post-credit."
Which was great.
It's a very different way to do it. It's the ending. It's not just the post-credit scene. It's the ending of the film.
Now, I have a question because Homecoming. The reason I liked it so much, I think, is because it was kind of like it was a Spider-Man movie, but it was also a high school movie.
Yeah.
Like a
Right?
John Hughes
and so,
movie.
Yes.
Exactly. It had like the '80s Johnny Hughes vibe, and so I think that's a reason why it was different than a lot of other superhero movies where it's just like defeat evil,
Well, it's a
get
coming
this
age.
stone, and so did they keep that in this
100%.
movie?
Yes.
It's a coming of age story again, and here's what I will say is that I didn't like what they were doing initially in Homecoming with Zendaya. Right, I didn't know. It was a matter of, and I had said it a couple times, where she's like just kind of like too cool for school. Like, what up, what's up, nerds?
Right.
They really explore who she is.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
And I'm so glad you liked it, right?
Because when she started out, I was like, oh, we're doing this too cool for school thing, but you understand why in this movie. They develop her. She is one of the more layered. I went from being on the fence with her to loving
her. Great.
Because now I completely understand why there's this relationship between the two of them. They have great chemistry, and it works. The MJ story and Peter story.
So it sounds
really
like
works.
it's a character movie versus just a good versus evil movie.
It's all of it.
It's-
It's
yeah.
a
Okay, cool.
soup. It's a tasty soup.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it's a character movie because remember, it's been 5 years, right? So he's been gone, and now he's got to be Spider-Man again on the heels of what happened, watching what happened in Infinity War and Endgame. For people who maybe haven't seen those two movies,
Who are you though?
there are people, probably moms and dads with
Yeah,
5
that's
kids.
true.
But what I was
Yeah,
saying,
again,
you see what he
see
goes
those
through.
movies, man. You gotta see those
Yeah, you
movies.
gotta see them because what he goes through is so universal and relatable. Just because he's a superhero doesn't mean we all don't have those moments. As we're transitioning into these more adult feelings or adult situations, what we have to confront within ourselves in order to overcome.
And when
them.
you go through something as what
Yes.
these characters
Yeah.
went through in Endgame, like how do you go get over that?
Yeah.
You know?
They really addressed that as well, and in a way that felt in world, but also you could see them moving on. You could see the world moving on, and then doing what Marvel did with Spider-Man, making him grounded. That's what it felt like to see on the ground level. What are the people dealing with after the snap? And I love that.
Yeah, and it's not just that. It's the fact that, again, this kid is in high school. Right? He's like 17 years old, and there's a lot of responsibility thrust upon him, you know? And so it's how do you deal with that?
Having to grow up fast
Yeah.
because you're not just in high school anymore.
Right. He's fighting that too.
There's so much that he's dealing with, you know, and there's other things that pertain to Endgame that I turn to Riley again because it is even if you've seen Endgame, I don't want to. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it for you. There's just things that they continuously do throughout the movie that relates to Endgame and things that happen in Endgame that I said, I'm glad that they did that. It reminded me of there's things that happen like that they didn't do in Rocky V. That in Rocky Balboa, he shows up with his son.
Yeah.
And he shows up with his son, and everybody swarms him and goes, champ, 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 champ. You know, in 5, they treated him like a bum.
Right.
I'm like, the guy just beat Russia by himself. And I bring this up, you see the reference that I'm making.
Yep.
It's they acknowledge things that happened in the past. They acknowledge, and subtle. It's subtle the way that they do it, but you feel it.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere is painted very well.
When you talk about subtle, once again, Tom Holland, his performance
He's so good.
with just his eyes in certain moments, with just a movement of his mouth, without saying a word, he can convey complexity and levels that are very emotional and that you look at and go, damn, I didn't, how can you reach that without saying a word?
Like emotional maturity, basically, for his age.
And his progression of it as Peter Parker. Tom does a great job with his arc in the movie.
Well, and also, I mean, I think the reason why he's my favorite live-action Spider-Man is because he makes me feel like I'm reading the comics. Like, he makes me feel like he's the
He
Peter...
can crack a joke.
Yeah, exactly. That even though there's all this, like, crazy things going on and he is going through emotional stuff, he's still funny and he's
a
still
kid.
playful. believable. You know what I mean? Yes,
he's
it's
a kid,
believable.
and when he's in the middle of this scenario, there's something that happens, and he's talking. And Nick Fury, by the way, delivers again with Sam Jackson. He's really good in it. Kobe Smulders or Evangeline Lilly. But
I would have loved to have seen it be that.
No, but that's the joke.
That's not a spoiler.
Yeah.
But anyway, Kobe Smulders and Nick Fury.
People are like, how dare you?
Yeah. But anyway, they're in this mission, and everyone's real serious, and here's the kid cracking jokes. And it's Spider-Man, you feel it. But it's a very good movie. And like I said, make sure you hit those post-credit scenes.
Would you guys say it's your favorite, or is Homecoming still better?
Homecoming for me is still better.
Yeah, I do too. I feel that way too.
And there's some things about Far From Home that I think are better left said for a spoiler discussion.
Yeah.
But I would probably put, if I were to rank them right now, I would put Homecoming first, and then Raimi's Spider-Man 2, and then Far From Home.
I see.
As a Spider-Man movie, I think Homecoming's the better one. As an MCU movie, this is a better MCU movie.
I see.
Yeah, this is a great MCU movie.
You know what I'm saying? Like it fits more into the MCU without beating you over the head the way that Iron Man 2 is. They're like, this is setting up for Avengers.
Right.
There's other things that they do, and again, without using a reference, there's something that a particular MCU movie tried to do in the past that didn't really work that well. And I think that they kind of almost repeat that in this movie, but do it well. There's something in particular that I said, oh, you know what? That's what they tried to do there. And they said, well, you might not have liked the way we did it this particular way, but how about if we do it this way?
Yeah.
And you go, yes.
But it actually worked.
Worked very well. Yeah. But as an MCU movie, it continues on and makes me want to see what's happening next.
Right.
So I think it delivers that aspect.
And not only that, but the way that they open up the Spider-Man character and universe. Comic fans who know Spider-Man as much as I do, because he's my boy behind Superman, very close. It's like, holy shit! This is the Spider-Man universe we want.
Yes, I would rank,
and I cannot wait for that.
As if we are going to include Spider-Verse as far as Spider-Man movies, I would put Spider-Verse as my number one.
Yeah.
Then I would put
because you'd be crazy not to.
Right. I would put Homecoming as my number 2. With this one right there, I need a second watch. I need a second watch of it because I don't know if it can jump or not. And then I'd probably put
Spider-Man
3.
No, thank you. Spider-Man 2, because I still, even though I think that when the Raimi movies came out, they were great. I just think they haven't held up as well as now.
That's why I would counter that. I actually think Spider-Man 1, Amazing Spider-Man, I like more than Spider-Man 2 now.
The first Garfield
Spider-Man?
one. The first Garfield was not bad.
I like those movies more than most people. I
like Amazing Spider-Man.
I think he feels more like Spider-Man than Tobey Maguire.
Tobey's a great Peter Parker.
Yes.
Andrew Garfield's a better Spider-Man.
I agree with you.
And where Tom gets them both, which I hope Pattinson does with his Batman. But I will say one thing. I want to say one last thing. It's like for me personally, coming out of the movie, I felt so happy because if they got Mysterio right and Vulture right, then Rhino is in play, and my favorite villain, Kraven, is in play.
Oh, you don't want Paul Giamatti to come back?
What are you doing, Spidey?
Listen,
when did he get a Russian accent?
Not only that, but Norman Osborn needs to be in play.
Right.
And there is a big rumor. It's not confirmed, but there's a big rumor that Norman Osborn will be a big baddie in the MCU.
He's going to be like the Thanos.
Going to be the Thanos, but more grounded, reality, earthbound.
He might take Avengers Tower, Stark Tower, and turn it into Oscorp.
I'll tell you
that actually makes me sad I'm excited about that. But I thought Dane DeHaan was actually really good as Norman Osborn. But then when he turned into Green Goblin, I was like, oh my god, that was so bad.
Yeah.
So,
you know what they need to do? We talked about this the other day. They got to lock Tom Holland down for a lot of money.
Oh yes,
they got to lock him down for a lot.
Especially because of what I said previous. They have opened up something interesting in the Spider-Man universe that people know. When you say Rhino and Kraven and Norman Osborn, there are so many things you can do. Yes, they need to lock him down.
Because the reason why...
And Doc Ock.
Doc Ock, yes.
But the other reason they got to lock him down is because the same way when you lock down Hemsworth and you lock down Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson, you lock down everyone down. You got to lock down your new stars for the next 10 years, whatever it is. You got to lock them down. Who's the forefront? Like Robert Downey Jr. was the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Tom Holland could be the new RDJ because he's so likable. Everyone loves him and he's great.
And Spider-Man is Spider-Man.
Yes, and then maybe we can see him and Deadpool together.
I've been saying this for a few months now that I think he's the one that's going to take over the Avengers. And people are like, oh, it's a high school kid, but Tom doesn't look like a high school kid anymore.
But he does,
and now
because he does in the comics as well.
Right, and I don't think we're going to see the Avengers until the end of Phase 4. Like I think they got all these other teams to figure out, and by the
It's
end
almost
of
like
phase
the beginning
4,
of the first phase. It's like phase 1.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and by the end, they'll be together, and Tom will be older, so he will look like he can carry the mantle of being in charge of the Avengers. We'll see, but I just have a feeling they're lining
Mike can
him all
also
that
put
way.
him in a box
Yeah.
and like he can be taller.
So
and,
out
it's fine.
of 10, out of 10,
Send him home to you.
Out of the scale of 10, what do you give this thing?
8.5 to 9, something like that.
I'm with you on that one. I'm going to go the same, 8.5 to 9.
Would you
Like a second
say
watch.
this year, if you could compare all superhero movies that you've seen, what's your favorite?
Endgame is still my favorite, and this one right behind it.
Because
certainly better than Shazam.
I don't think I have the same reaction to this movie if I didn't respond so heavily to Endgame.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's just it's hard to compare because I love this movie so
But
much.
it's a different thing, right?
Different, yeah, it's a different. So I would do the same. I would do how many other? I mean, okay,
Shazam.
and X-Men.
Oh, right. And you can throw
X-Men?
in
X-Men.
X-Men. You can throw in Split or whatever, the glass. You could throw in glass as a possible. And right, that's it.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And should we go around the same 8.5?
Yeah, I would say 8.5 right now, but I know I really want to
Second
say
watch.
it again.
Yeah.
Second watch, because I kept for some reason going back to Homecoming and comparing it. And I think it was a little unfair of me to do that because I love Homecoming so much. But the more I think about it, I woke up this morning and go, I want to see this again.
That's why
I want to see it
That's why
again.
I'm not
Thoroughly.
saying yet if I like just right now Homecoming
Yeah.
wins, because one of the things that we have to realize is that because the Amazing Spider-Man 2 was so bad.
Yeah.
It was so bad that it was almost like what happened. Not on the epic disaster level, say the Batman and Robin.
At least the Gwen Stacy, Peter Parker
That
stuff
part
was
was
good.
cool.
Yeah.
That was great. Yeah,
right.
the
So it
chemistry.
had some stuff, as where
Yeah,
Batman and
yeah.
Robin had nothing. But they both the same thing happened after Batman.
What about all the cold puns?
I know, but after Batman and Robin, went the way of the shits, right? Then it took almost 7 years before Christopher Nolan got a hold of Batman and rejuvenated the whole entire thing, right? So it didn't take that long with Amazing Spider-Man. They said it was his property. We're going to lose it unless we make another movie.
Right.
Let's team up with Marvel here. And I think that so when that comes back, we all go, okay, are you going to get Spider-Man right this time?
Right.
So because they did, you have this special love in your heart because that's the Spider-Man we're waiting to see forever with Homecoming. So it's going to be hard for anybody to rank the second one over it, but I do need to see it again because there's so many things that happen, and it was really clever. It was a really clever
So
film.
good writing.
Yes.
How was the music?
Oh, the
pretty
music's
great.
fantastic.
Giacchino did such a good job.
I woke up this morning humming the theme.
Yeah, it's good.
It's great.